Have you ever stopped to wonder if your life is actually happening to you, or if something far more profound and mysterious is taking place through you? What if I told you that before you took your first breath, before anyone spoke your name, before you had any memory of who you are, you were already imagined into existence by God Himself, not as a random accident in a chaotic universe, but as a deliberate, intentional participant in a divine story that was written from the very beginning of time? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now here's where things get truly extraordinary. Most people go through life believing they're trapped by circumstances, bound by their past, limited by what they can see with their physical eyes. They watch their lives unfold like spectators in a theater, reacting to whatever appears on the stage, never realizing that they hold the pen, the script, and the creative power to rewrite every single scene. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever felt like life is just happening around you and you're simply trying to keep up, trying to survive, trying to make sense of it all? What if everything you've been taught about reality is backwards? What if you're not meant to be a passive observer, but an active co-creator? Florence Scovel Shinn, one of the most profound spiritual teachers of the 20th century, taught with absolute certainty something that will shake the very foundation of how you see yourself and your world. She revealed that your imagination is not just a mental faculty, not just daydreaming or fantasy. Your imagination is literally God expressing Himself through you. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you approach every desire, every challenge, every possibility in your life. Think about it for a moment. The same creative force that spoke galaxies into existence, that formed mountains and oceans, that breathed life into every living thing, that exact same power resides within you right now. And the moment you imagine something with genuine feeling, with emotional conviction, you're not pretending, you're not wishing, you're not hoping. You are participating in divine creation itself. You are stepping into your role as a co-author of the divine play that is your life. If this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel. Every video here is designed to help you step into your power and live from divine abundance. But here's what most people miss. They treat their imagination like it's separate from reality, like it's somehow less real than the physical world they can touch and see. They don't understand that consciousness is the stage upon which absolutely everything unfolds. They don't realize that this life isn't happening to them. It's happening through them, being shaped and molded by the inner world they inhabit, by the assumptions they hold, by the feelings they repeatedly return to. What you're about to learn will reveal exactly how this divine mechanism works, how you can consciously step into your power as a creative being, and how you can begin writing scenes of abundance, joy, and fulfillment instead of continuing to replay the old stories of limitation and struggle. And trust me, once you truly understand this, now here's where we need to completely rewire our understanding of what faith actually is. Most people have been taught that faith is something passive, a kind of hopeful waiting, a gentle wishing, maybe even a desperate plea sent up to the heavens, hoping someone or something out there will eventually respond. But that's not faith at all. That's not the kind of faith that Florence Scovel Shinn spoke about. And it's certainly not the kind of faith that literally reshapes your reality from the inside out. Real faith is an active force. It's the inner decision, the emotional commitment, the unshakable assumption that what you desire is already yours in the spiritual realm, and the physical world is simply catching up. When you assume a state, when you step into the feeling of already being, already having, already living the reality you desire, you're not pretending. You're not faking it. You're aligning yourself with a frequency, a vibration, an inner truth that the universe has no choice but to respond to with absolute fidelity. This is the hidden truth behind every manifestation, every transformation, every miracle that seems to come out of nowhere. Think about the moments in your life when something incredible happened, when doors opened that shouldn't have opened, when the right person appeared at exactly the right time, when money showed up just when you needed it most. If you look back honestly, you'll probably notice something. Right before those breakthroughs, there was a shift inside you. There was a moment when you stopped fighting, stopped forcing, stopped desperately trying to control the outcome. And instead, you simply knew. You felt it as done. That inner knowing, that calm certainty, that's what rewrote your script. Because here's what most people don't realize. The play you're living in right now is not some fixed, unchangeable storyline. Your life is not a rigid structure carved in stone. It's dynamic, it's fluid, it's being shaped and reshaped every single moment by your inner world, by what you assume to be true about yourself, by what you imagine with genuine feeling, by the faith you carry in your heart. Your assumptions, your imagination, your faith, these aren't just thoughts floating around in your head. They are the actual architects of your external experience. Scene by scene, moment by moment, feeling by feeling, you are sculpting the landscape of your reality. The impact of this realization cannot be overstated. Once you truly understand that your outer world is a direct reflection of your inner state, everything changes. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the conscious author of your own story. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. Now I want to go even deeper into this revelation, because there's something even more profound happening beneath the surface. If this is resonating with you, write in the comments, "I am the author of my story." What most people struggle to accept is that they've been operating as spectators their entire lives when they were actually designed to be co-creators. From childhood, we're conditioned to believe that life is something that happens to us, something we must react to, adapt to, survive through. We're taught to watch the world unfold and hope for the best. But that was never God's intention when He breathed consciousness into you. You weren't placed here to sit in the audience. You were placed here to step onto the stage, to pick up the pen, to actively shape your experience through the power of conscious assumption. Here's the revelation that changes everything. If you created unwanted scenes in your life through unconscious belief, through fears you didn't even realize you were holding, through limiting assumptions you inherited from your family or society, through negative inner conversations you repeated without awareness, then you can absolutely create new scenes through deliberate intention. The mechanism is the same. The creative power hasn't changed. The only difference is consciousness. When you were creating unconsciously, you were still creating. You were still the author. You just didn't know it. Now you do. And that awareness is the turning point in your entire journey. But let's talk about something even more beautiful. Something that will completely shift how you view your deepest longings. Every desire you hold in. Your heart is not random. It's not frivolous. It's not some selfish craving that you should feel guilty about. Your desires are divine communication. They are God whispering directly to your soul, saying, "This is who you are becoming. This is the next chapter I've already written for you." Think about that for a moment. The desires that keep showing up, the dreams that won't leave you alone, the visions that play in your mind when you're quiet, those aren't distractions. Those are invitations. God does not plant desires in your heart without already preparing their fulfillment. He doesn't tease you with visions of what could never be. That would contradict His very nature. Every desire is a seed of your future identity, calling you forward, pulling you toward the version of yourself that already exists in the spiritual realm. The question is not whether your desire will be fulfilled. The question is whether you'll accept the truth that it's already done, already prepared, already waiting for you to step into the consciousness that matches it. This is the hidden truth behind every major transformation you'll ever experience. The impact of understanding this completely rewrites your relationship with your own wanting. You stop apologizing for what you desire. You stop shrinking yourself. You stop waiting for permission. Now let me show you exactly how this divine mechanism actually operates in your daily life. If you're beginning to see your desires differently, write in the comments, "My desires are divine." The divine mechanism operates through something Florence Scovel Shinn called assumption. And this is where most people miss the entire point. They think assumption means hoping something might happen, or visualizing occasionally when they remember to, or repeating affirmations while secretly doubting everything they're saying. But real assumption is a complete inner decision. It's the moment you dare to believe in the reality of your desire before you see any physical evidence. It's when you step so fully into the consciousness of already having, already being, already living that reality, that your entire nervous system begins to reorganize itself around that truth. When you feel the wish fulfilled, not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, not when you finally deserve it, but right now in this present moment, you are literally entering the next act of your divine play before the stage has even been set. You're stepping into a script that God placed within your soul before you were born. This isn't imagination in the sense of fantasy. This is imagination as the creative force of the universe expressing itself through you. And here's what people don't realize. The moment you assume the state, the moment you genuinely feel it as real, every single decision you make from that point forward comes from that new identity. Your choices change, your behaviors shift, your entire perception of what's possible transforms. And that transformation is what rewrites your reality. But let's go deeper into the mechanics of how this actually shows up in your everyday life. Your external world is not punishing you for past mistakes. It's not rewarding you for good behavior. Your life is not a moral judgment system. It's a mirror. It's pure reflection of the consciousness you're occupying in any given moment. If you're living in a state of lack, constantly thinking about what you don't have, replaying stories of scarcity, feeling the tension of not enough, then life will faithfully introduce more experiences of scarcity. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it's responding exactly to the frequency you're broadcasting. It has no choice. It's law. On the other hand, if you genuinely inhabit a state of abundance, if you feel grateful for what you have, if you expect blessings to flow, if you carry yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they're provided for, then life must reflect that consciousness back to you. Opportunities appear, doors open, the right people show up, resources materialize. This is the hidden truth behind every success story, every breakthrough, every so-called miracle. It's not luck. It's not favoritism. It's consciousness creating through perception and inner state. Now, what I'm about to share will show you exactly how to shift your state intentionally. If you're seeing the mirror clearly now, write in the comments, "I create my reality." The moment you understand that you are both the character moving through the scenes and the consciousness shaping those scenes, everything shifts. This is the essence of spiritual awakening, and it's what separates those who continuously recreate the same patterns from those who step into genuine transformation. Most people identify completely with the character. They believe they are the person struggling with money, the person stuck in unfulfilling relationships, the person who always gets overlooked. But that's only half the truth. You are also the consciousness observing that character, directing that character, writing the lines that character speaks. When you change your inner state, when you shift the consciousness you're operating from, the entire play has no choice but to adjust itself to honor your transformation. The script rewrites itself. The scenes rearrange. The other characters in your life respond differently because you're showing up differently, not because you're forcing anything externally, but because you've changed the frequency you're broadcasting from within. This is the hidden truth behind every major life transformation you've ever witnessed. Behind the scenes, there was always a shift in consciousness first. And this brings us to something Christ revealed that completely unlocks the architecture of reality. When he said, "According to your faith, be it unto you," he wasn't speaking poetically. He wasn't offering religious comfort. He was revealing the fundamental law of creation itself. Faith is the blueprint. It's the underlying design, the energetic template that everything else must conform to. Your assumption is the script, the specific story you're telling yourself about who you are and what's possible. Feeling is the performance, the emotional embodiment that brings the script to life. And manifestation is simply the scene revealed, the physical evidence that appears once all the inner elements have aligned. This isn't metaphor. This isn't spiritual language meant to inspire you. This is the actual mechanism through which reality forms itself around you. Every single thing that shows up in your life followed this exact sequence. The only question is whether you were consciously directing it or unconsciously allowing old patterns to run the show. And here's where the journey gets truly powerful. The moment you recognize this law, you can work with it intentionally. You can choose the blueprint. You can write a new script. You can step into the feeling before the evidence appears. Now, let me reveal exactly what happens when you make this shift from unconscious creation to conscious authorship. If this is clicking for you, write in the comments, "I choose my blueprint." When Florence Scovel Shinn taught about manifestation, she didn't tell people to hope for their desires or wait patiently for things to get better. She taught something far more radical and transformative. Dwell in the end, not tomorrow, not when circumstances align, not when you finally feel ready or worthy, right now. She understood that the play you're living in responds to consciousness, not circumstance. It doesn't care about your current bank account, your relationship status, or what happened last year. It only responds to the state you're occupying in this present moment. And when you genuinely inhabit the feeling of the fulfilled desire, when you live from the end rather than toward it, the entire play must adjust itself to honor that inner transformation. This is where most people sabotage themselves without even realizing it. They visualize their desire for 5 minutes, then spend the rest of the day thinking about how it hasn't happened yet, feeling frustrated by the delay, complaining about their current circumstances. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But the universe doesn't respond to your 5 minutes of hoping. It responds to your dominant state, the consciousness you return to again and again, throughout the day. When you dwell in the end, you're not pretending. You're making a decision about who you are right now, regardless of external conditions. And that decision rewrites everything. Now here's the revelation that will completely shift how you view your past and present experiences. Every single event in your life, the successes that made you feel invincible, the heartbreaks that shattered you, the delays that frustrated you, the breakthroughs that seemed to come out of nowhere, none of it was designed to punish you. Every scene was designed to awaken you, to reveal to you that you are not the character trapped helplessly in the moment. You are the consciousness directing it. Every challenge you faced was an invitation to remember your creative power. Every setback was a catalyst pushing you toward a deeper understanding of how reality actually works. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most powerless. What if those weren't moments of defeat, but moments of initiation? What if they were specifically designed to break you free from the illusion that you're at the mercy of external forces? The impact of this shift in perspective cannot be overstated. When you stop seeing your life as a series of random events happening to you and start recognizing every scene as part of your awakening journey, everything changes. You stop being a victim and become a student. You stop resisting and start learning. Now let me show you what happens when you fully embrace this truth. If you're seeing your challenges differently now, write in the comments, "Every scene awakens me." Here's where we need to address the biggest misconception about manifestation that keeps people spinning their wheels for years. Most people believe they manifest what they desire, but that's not how the universe actually operates. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe you are. Identity precedes everything. Experience, opportunity, manifestation, all of it. This is the hidden truth that changes the entire game. Whatever follows the words "I am" in your inner dialogue, you become. You animate it. You experience it. And reality has no choice but to rearrange itself to honor your assumed identity. Think about the decisions you make every single day. They don't come from your desires. They come from your identity. A person who identifies as financially struggling will make completely different choices than someone who identifies as abundant, even if they both want more money. A person who sees themselves as unworthy in relationships will unconsciously sabotage connections, even while desperately wanting love. Your identity is the lens through which you perceive opportunities, interpret events, and take action. Change the identity, and everything downstream changes automatically. This is why affirmations alone rarely work. You can repeat, "I am wealthy" 1,000 times, but if your underlying identity still whispers, "I'm always broke," the deeper belief wins every single time. So the real work, the transformative work, is shifting identity at the level of genuine feeling. And this brings us to what Florence Scovel Shinn called faithful feeling. This is not hoping. This is not wishing. This is not mentally rehearsing while emotionally doubting. Faithful feeling is the complete emotional acceptance of the reality you choose to inhabit, not someday when things get better, not after you've worked hard, enough to deserve it, but right now, in this present moment. When you truly feel the wish fulfilled, when you step so fully into that emotional state that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances, you are literally standing in the next act of your life before the stage has even been set. Your body doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one. Your nervous system responds to the feeling, not the external proof. And when you dwell in that feeling consistently, your entire being begins to reorganize around it. Your thoughts shift, your behaviors change, your perception opens, the impact ripples outward in ways you can't even track consciously. Now, let me reveal what happens when you make this shift at the identity level. If you're ready to shift your identity, write in the comments, "I am transformed." The most liberating truth you'll ever discover is this: nothing is final until you accept it as final. No scene in your life has permission to imprison you unless you give it that power through your continued agreement. Think about that for a moment. Your past failures, your current limitations, your financial struggles, your relationship patterns, none of them have any authority over your future except the authority you grant them by continuing to identify with them. The moment you revoke your agreement with an old identity, the moment you withdraw your emotional attention from past assumptions and outdated beliefs, their power dissolves, not gradually, immediately, and the play adjusts accordingly. This is where most people stay stuck. They keep rehearsing the old story. They keep returning emotionally to past disappointments. They keep saying, "I am," followed by all the things they don't want to be. And every time they do, they're signing a new contract with that reality, renewing its lease in their consciousness. But you have the power to break that contract right now. Not through force, not through fighting. Simply through withdrawal of attention and redirection of feeling. The past only exists in your mind, and it only has power in your present if you keep energizing it with your focus. Now here's what shifts everything. Your inner state is your true power source. Not your circumstances, not your bank account, not what other people think of you, not your past track record, your inner state. And that state is determined by one thing: alignment. True power comes from the alignment between your imagination and God's imagination for you, between your assumptions and the divine promises already written into your destiny, between your inner knowing and the story that's unfolding around you. When you achieve this alignment, you move through life with spiritual authority. Doors open before you knock. Opportunities appear without you forcing them. The right people enter at the right time. Resources flow toward you naturally. This alignment is not something you create through effort. It's something you allow through surrender, through trusting that the desires planted in your heart came from God Himself, and if He planted them, He's already prepared the fulfillment. Through believing that your imagination is not separate from His creative power, but an extension of it. Through knowing that when you feel something deeply and truly, you're not hoping, you're aligning. Now let me show you exactly how to maintain this alignment in your daily life. If you're feeling this alignment, write in the comments, "I am aligned with divine power." One of the most profound revelations on this journey is understanding that identity is not something you inherit. It's something you choose. Every single day, through the assumptions you accept, the feelings you allow yourself to dwell in, and the inner conversations you repeat, you are actively choosing your identity. Most people don't realize this. They believe their identity was formed by their childhood, their culture, their family, patterns, their past experiences, and yes, those things influence the unconscious identity you've been carrying. But that identity is not permanent. It's not carved in stone. Identity is fluid, it's malleable, and faith is the force that reshapes it into alignment with your highest potential. This means you can decide right now to no longer identify as the person who struggles, the person who always falls short, the person who isn't good enough. Those were roles you played when you didn't know you had a choice. But now you do. And the moment you make a different choice, the moment you consciously select a new identity and commit to dwelling in the feeling of that identity, everything begins to shift. Your decisions change, your perception opens, your behavior naturally aligns with who you're becoming. This is the hidden truth behind every major transformation story you've ever heard. Behind the scenes, there was always a moment when someone decided to become someone new. And here's what will set you free. Your past is not your prophecy. It doesn't matter what happened 5 years ago, last year, or even yesterday. The moment you withdraw your attention from your past, it ceases to define you. Your true spiritual past is not the collection of events that happened in time. Your real past is the moment God imagined you into existence, the moment He placed His creative power inside you and called you His own. Everything else, every mistake, every failure, every disappointment, was just a temporary role you played before you remembered who you truly are. You are not the sum of your experiences. You are not defined by what you went through. You are the consciousness that has the power to interpret those experiences, learn from them, and then choose an entirely new direction. When you truly grasp this, the weight of the past falls away. The shame dissolves. The regret loses its grip. And you're free to step into the identity that's been waiting for you all along. Now, let me reveal what happens when you finally release the past and embrace your chosen identity. If you're ready to release your past, write in the comments, "My past does not define me." When you release the grip of the past and step into your chosen identity, something beautiful begins to happen. The desires that have been quietly calling to you, the visions that play in your mind during quiet moments, the longings that won't leave you alone, you start to see them differently. You begin to understand that every desire is not a random wish or a selfish craving. It's a scene God has already written. You feel it because it exists in the spiritual realm. You long for it because it belongs to you. This completely transforms how you relate to your own wanting. Most people have been taught to distrust their desires, to feel guilty about them, to see them as temptations or distractions from what really matters. But that's a fundamental misunderstanding of how God communicates with you. Desire is not temptation. Desire is divine direction. It's God revealing the next act of your play, showing you who you're becoming, pulling you toward the version of yourself that already exists in His mind. When you honor your desires instead of suppressing them, when you recognize them as spiritual invitations rather than earthly distractions, everything shifts. You stop fighting yourself and start following the map that was placed inside you from the beginning. But here's where the real journey begins. Understanding this intellectually is one thing. Living it consistently is another. And this is where persistence becomes everything. Faith is not about being perfect. It's not about never doubting or always feeling certain. Faith is persistence. It's the decision to keep returning to your chosen state even when circumstances haven't changed yet. When you drift from your desired state, and you will drift, we all do, you simply return. When doubt arises, you realign. You don't judge yourself for wavering. You just gently bring yourself back to the feeling, back to the assumption, back to the identity. This persistent assumption is what reshapes your subconscious mind. And your subconscious is what governs 95% of your thoughts, behaviors, and perceptions. When you reshape the subconscious through persistent feeling and assumption, it reshapes the play unfolding around you. And when the play changes, your entire life changes. This is not theory. This is the actual mechanism through which transformation occurs. The impact happens beneath the surface first, in the quiet choices, in the moments when no one's watching, in the decision to return to your truth one more time. Now, let me show you exactly how to make this persistence feel natural instead of forced. If you understand the power of persistence, write in the comments, "I persist in my truth." The secret to making persistence feel effortless instead of exhausting lies in understanding one simple but profound truth. Your attention is the spotlight through which God illuminates your world. Think about a theater stage. Whatever the spotlight shines on becomes visible, real, important. Everything outside that beam of light fades into darkness. Your attention works exactly the same way. The only power any assumption has in your life is the power you give it through your attention. An old belief, a past failure, a current limitation, none of these have inherent power. They only stay alive because you keep shining your spotlight on them. But here's the revelation that changes everything. The moment you withdraw your attention from the old story and redirect it toward your new identity, the old assumption vanishes like a darkened scene on a stage. It doesn't require years of therapy. It doesn't need elaborate rituals or complicated techniques. You simply stop feeding it with your focus. You stop rehearsing it mentally. You stop talking about it. You stop identifying with it. And when you do, it loses all authority over your future. This is the hidden mechanism behind every breakthrough, every transformation, every sudden shift that seems to come out of nowhere. Behind the scenes, someone made a decision about where to place their attention. And this brings us to what Florence Scovel Shinn taught as the highest form of faith, living in the end. This is not a technique you practice occasionally. This is a spiritual law, as reliable and unchanging as gravity. To live in the end means to feel the wish fulfilled as though it were already your truth. Not someday when you deserve it, not eventually when circumstances align, but right now, in this present moment. The instant you genuinely feel the end, the instant you inhabit that state, emotionally and mentally, the entire script begins to reorganize itself to deliver that reality into your physical experience. This is where most people stumble. They want the evidence first, then they'll believe. But that's backwards. The universe doesn't respond to seeing. It responds to feeling. When you live in the end, you're not denying your current circumstances. You're just refusing to let those circumstances define your identity or dictate your emotional state. You're choosing to stand in the consciousness of the fulfilled desire while the physical world catches up. Now let me reveal what happens in your daily life when you truly master this practice. If you're ready to live in the end, write in the comments, "I feel it fulfilled now." When you truly grasp what it means to live in the end, you unlock something that most people spend their entire lives searching for: the understanding that all power exists in the present moment, not in the future when things finally work out, not in some distant timeline where you've earned your blessings. Right here, right now. Creation happens only in the eternal now. God doesn't operate in past or future. He operates in the infinite present. And so do you, when you're aligned with Him. This is the hidden truth that transforms everything. When you assume a new identity in this present moment, you are not waiting for transformation to happen someday. You are the transformation. It's not a process that takes months or years. It's an instant shift in consciousness. The moment your awareness changes, the moment you genuinely step into a new state, your entire being reorganizes around that truth. Your consciousness shifts first, and then reality follows. with divine precision. Not because you're forcing anything, but because reality has no choice but to mirror the consciousness you're occupying. And this brings us to something that will completely change how you interpret your daily experiences. There is no such thing as coincidence in a God-created world. None. Every single person who enters your life, every opportunity that appears, every obstacle you face, all of it shows up by the logic of your inner state. This is not mysticism. This is the fundamental architecture of reality. Everything you encounter is alignment, resonance, reflection of the vibration you're broadcasting. When you're dwelling in abundance, abundant experiences find you. When you're operating from fear, challenging situations appear, not as punishment, but as perfect reflection. Think about the last time something unexpected happened in your life, something you couldn't have planned or predicted. Most people call that luck or coincidence, but when you understand how reality actually works, you recognize it as resonance. Your inner state sent out a frequency, and the universe responded with matching circumstances. The person who showed up at the perfect time, the idea that struck you out of nowhere, the opportunity that seemed to fall into your lap, none of it was random. It was your consciousness creating through vibrational alignment. Now let me show you how to consciously work with this law, instead of being unconsciously shaped by it. If this is making sense to you, write in the comments, "Nothing is random in my life." Once you understand that nothing is random, that everything is responding to your inner state, you can start working with this law intentionally. And here's how it works. Every single time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, every time you consciously inhabit the state of your desired reality, you are strengthening the new script. You're not just hoping or wishing. You're sending a clear signal to the universe that says, "This is who I am now. Not who I'm trying to become. Not who I hope to be someday. Who I am right now." And the universe has no choice but to respond to that signal. But here's what's beautiful about how this unfolds. The universe doesn't respond through force or struggle. It responds through orchestration. Paths open that you didn't even know existed. Solutions reveal themselves in ways you never could have planned. The right conversation happens at the perfect moment. Until an idea strikes you out of nowhere. A person you haven't thought about in years reaches out with exactly what you need. This is not you manipulating reality. This is you aligning with the divine intelligence that's always been orchestrating events behind the scenes, waiting for you to match the frequency of what you're asking for. And this is where so many people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They want to know the how. They want to see the entire roadmap before they take the first step. They want to understand exactly how their desire will manifest before they fully commit to the feeling of it. But that's not how faith works. That's not how creation works. You don't need to know how the story unfolds. You only need to know the ending. Knowing the end is faith. Rehearsing the end in your imagination is how you strengthen that faith. Feeling the end as though it's already real is embodiment. And embodiment is creation itself. When you stop demanding to know the how and simply trust the what, everything changes. You release the burden of figuring everything out. You stop trying to control every detail. You surrender the need to micromanage the universe. And in that surrender, the divine flow can actually work on your behalf. The orchestration can happen. The synchronicities can align. The miracles can unfold. Now, let me reveal what this looks like in practical terms when you apply it to your actual life. If you're letting go of the how, write in the comments, "I trust the divine orchestration." When you truly understand divine orchestration, you realize something that will completely flip your perspective. You are not waiting for God. God is waiting for you. He's waiting for you to assume the identity that matches the blessing He already prepared for you before you were born. The miracle isn't locked away somewhere requiring you to prove yourself worthy. The abundance isn't being withheld until you've suffered enough. The love, the success, the fulfillment. It's all already prepared. The only thing standing between you and your blessing is the gap between who you believe you are and who God created you to be. Once you assume the identity, Once you step fully into the consciousness of the person who already has what you desire, the blessing finds you, not by chance, not by luck, not through exhausting effort or endless striving, by spiritual law, the same law that causes seeds to grow into trees, that pulls tides according to the moon, that keeps planets in perfect orbit. That same unchanging law responds to your assumed identity. This is the hidden truth that sets you free from the exhausting cycle of chasing and begging and trying to force things into being. Because here's what changes everything. Creation is not a battle to be won. It's a birth flowing from within. Think about how a baby grows in the womb. The mother doesn't force the process. She doesn't struggle to make it happen. She doesn't stay up at night trying to figure out how to form the fingers or develop the lungs. She simply carries the life inside her, nourishes it, trusts the process. And in perfect timing, the birth happens naturally. Your desires work exactly the same way. When the feeling of fulfillment becomes natural to you, when you carry that state inside you consistently, the play aligns effortlessly around you. Creation flows from inner harmony, not external force. The moment you try to force an outcome, manipulate circumstances, or control every detail, you're operating from fear and lack. But when you simply inhabit the state, when you rest in the knowing, when you allow the feeling to become as natural as breathing, that's when miracles unfold. That's when doors open. That's when the impossible becomes inevitable. The impact of this shift cannot be overstated. You move from exhausting yourself, trying to make things happen, to simply being the person for whom things happen naturally. Now, let me show you what this actually feels like when you're living it. If you're ready to stop battling and start birthing, write in the comments, "I allow creation to flow through me." When you allow creation to flow through you instead of forcing it, something remarkable begins to happen in every area of your life, especially in the area that most people struggle with the most: money. And here's what you need to understand. Money is not something outside yourself that you need to chase, hunt down, or desperately pursue. Money is the awakening of a pattern of wealth that was already written into your being from the moment God imagined you. The hidden vibration that attracts abundance is not a technique you learn or a strategy you implement. It's a state of being. It's a spiritual posture. It's the consciousness you occupy. Think about the people you know who seem to attract money effortlessly. They're not necessarily the smartest or the most educated or the hardest working, but there's something about them, an energy, a certainty, a way they carry themselves. That's the vibration. That's the state. And here's the revelation that will transform your relationship with money forever. Your financial life is not an outer accident. It's an inner echo. Every dollar in your bank account, every opportunity that has come or hasn't come, every door that opened or stayed closed, it's all a perfect reflection of your consciousness around money. Money is a mirror, revealing the emotional, spiritual, and conceptual patterns from which you operate. If you believe deep down that you have to struggle for every dollar, that's what you'll experience. If you carry the assumption that money is scarce and hard to come by, reality will faithfully reflect that belief back to you. But if you genuinely embody the consciousness of abundance, if you operate from the inner conviction that wealth flows naturally to you, then that becomes your lived experience. Wealth is not chased. Wealth is radiated from your inner conviction. This is why affirmations about money rarely work for most people. They're trying to convince themselves of something their deeper consciousness doesn't actually believe. But when you shift at the identity level, when you genuinely step into the state of someone who is financially abundant, your entire energy changes. Your decisions shift. Your perception opens. Opportunities that were always there suddenly become visible. Now let me reveal exactly what this hidden vibration feels like and how you can consciously cultivate it. If you're ready to shift your money consciousness, write in the comments, "Wealth flows to me naturally." The hidden vibration of wealth starts with understanding one fundamental truth that will change everything. Scarcity is learned. Lack is inherited. Poverty is memorized. But abundance is your original nature. Think about a baby coming into this world. That child doesn't arrive with beliefs about limitation or fear about not having enough. Those patterns get programmed later through observation, through the conversations they overhear, through the emotional atmosphere of their environment. You learn to think small. You inherited assumptions about struggle. You memorized stories about money being hard to come by. But none of that is who you actually are. The moment you dissolve the false image of limitation, the moment you recognize those beliefs as learned programming rather than inherent truth, your spirit's true nature reveals itself. And your true nature is abundance. You are made in the image of God, and God is infinite, unlimited, endlessly creative and generous. When you align with that truth, when you let go of the learned scarcity, wealth becomes natural. It stops being something you have to work impossibly hard for, and starts being something that flows to you because it matches who you really are. But here's where the real transformation happens, and this is the part most people miss. Your subconscious mind is what governs your magnetism. It's not your conscious thoughts, not the affirmations you repeat for 5 minutes in the morning. Your subconscious accepts whatever feeling you repeatedly rest in throughout the day, and that feeling governs everything. Your habits, your perception, your confidence, your ability to even recognize opportunity when it appears right in front of you. This is why two people can walk into the same room and one sees possibilities everywhere while the other sees obstacles. To genuinely change your financial life, you need to saturate your inner self with the feeling of abundance until it becomes your natural resting state. Not something you try to conjure up occasionally, but the baseline you return to automatically. This happens through repetition, through consciously choosing the feeling again and again until your subconscious accepts it as the new normal. And when that shift occurs at the subconscious level, everything changes. Your decisions shift, your energy transforms. Your entire presence broadcasts a different frequency. Now, let me show you exactly how to reprogram your subconscious for abundance instead of scarcity. If you're ready to reprogram for abundance, write in the comments, "Abundance is my natural state." Reprogramming your subconscious for abundance isn't just about what you do during your waking hours. One of the most powerful and overlooked tools you have is sleep itself. There's a verse in Scripture that most people read right past without understanding its profound implication. He gives to his beloved even in their sleep. This isn't poetic language. This is revealing a spiritual mechanism. When your inner state resonates with abundance as you drift into rest, when you fall asleep dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your subconscious mind becomes a magnet for provision. While you're sleeping, while your conscious mind is completely out of the way, your subconscious is working. It's forming new neural pathways. It's reorganizing your perception. It's opening you up to ideas, inspiration, and unexpected connections that you couldn't access when you were trying to figure everything out consciously. This is why some of your best insights come in the morning, why solutions appear after a good night's sleep, why clarity arrives when you stop forcing it. Your subconscious was working on your behalf all night long, aligning you with the abundance you fell asleep feeling. But even beyond sleep, there's a shift in perception that needs to happen while you're wide awake. Christ taught something that cuts right through the illusion of scarcity. Lift up your eyes and see. The fields are already white for harvest. Think about what he was really saying. The harvest was already there. The abundance was already present. But people couldn't see it because they were looking through the lens of lack. They were so focused on what they didn't have that they completely missed what was right in front of them. This is the hidden truth that changes everything. You need to stop assuming lack and open your perception to the abundance that's already surrounding you. Recognition precedes reception. You cannot receive what you refuse to see. And most people are walking through life with their eyes fixed on scarcity, on limitation, on all the reasons why things won't work out. But when you lift your eyes, when you deliberately shift your perception to look for evidence of abundance, you start seeing it everywhere. The opportunities that were always there become visible. The blessings you overlooked suddenly register. Now, let me reveal what happens when you combine this perceptual shift with everything else we've been building. If you're opening your eyes to abundance, write in the comments, "I see the harvest around me." When you combine the perceptual shift with everything we've been uncovering, something extraordinary begins to unfold in your life. As you sleep, dwelling in abundance, as you wake up, looking for the harvest, as you move through your day from the consciousness of fulfillment, your entire identity deepens. It's happening beneath the surface in ways you can't always consciously track. Your subconscious is reorganizing itself around abundance. The hidden vibration we've been talking about grows stronger, more consistent, more magnetic. And here's what that actually looks like in practical terms. You start attracting new people who match your new frequency. Ideas begin flowing that never occurred to you before. Pathways open that didn't exist last month. And the beautiful part is that none of this happens through striving. You're not forcing doors open. You're not exhausting yourself trying to make things happen. You're simply aligning with who you're becoming, and life rearranges itself accordingly. This is the transformation that happens when you finally understand that life mirrors your inner state with absolute precision. The outer world has no choice but to reflect the consciousness you're consistently occupying. Every decision you make, every person you encounter, every opportunity that appears, it's all responding to the vibration you're broadcasting from within. But here's the hidden truth that separates those who achieve lasting transformation from those who keep cycling through temporary shifts. The universe responds most powerfully, not to those who are anxiously repeating affirmations, desperately trying to convince themselves, or constantly checking for evidence. The universe responds to those who rest in certainty. Think about that word, rest. Not struggle, not strain, not anxious effort. Rest. It's the quiet, anchored conviction that abundance is not just possible, but inevitable. It's the inner posture of someone who knows, beyond any doubt, that what they desire is already done in the spiritual realm and simply manifesting in perfect timing. This posture, this state of resting in certainty, quietly shapes worlds. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need validation. It simply is. And when you embody this state, when you move through life from this place of unshakable knowing, everything shifts. People sense something different about you. Opportunities gravitate toward you. Resources appear. The impact of this inner certainty radiates outward in ways you cannot fully comprehend, touching circumstances and people you'll never even know about. Now, let me reveal the final piece that brings all of this together into a life of true abundance. If you're choosing to rest in certainty, write in the comments, "I rest in divine certainty." The final piece that brings everything together is understanding that prosperity is not the result of mental strain. It's not about how hard you think, how many hours you visualize, or how perfectly you execute techniques. Prosperity flows from spiritual agreement. It's the moment you stop fighting with yourself, stop arguing with God about your worthiness, and simply agree with the truth of who you already are. When you reach that place of inner agreement, when you say yes to the identity God placed in you from the beginning, every lesser belief begins to fall away naturally. You don't have to battle them. You don't have to spend years in therapy dismantling every limiting thought. They simply dissolve in the presence of your agreement with divine truth. And as those false beliefs fall away, as you settle more deeply into spiritual agreement, wealth begins to reflect into your outer world with stunning clarity. Not because you forced it, not because you manipulated circumstances, but because your inner world finally matches the abundance that was always meant to be yours. This is the transformation that happens when you stop striving and start agreeing, when you stop resisting and start receiving, when you stop questioning your worthiness and start embracing your divine inheritance. And here's what's happening right now as you embrace this truth. Your heart is broadcasting a completely new signal. Not the old frequency of lack, fear, and unworthiness. Your heart is now broadcasting worthiness, readiness, abundance. And this signal travels in ways that go far beyond words. beyond anything you could consciously orchestrate. It's reaching opportunities you haven't seen yet. It's touching the minds of people who are assigned to bless you, people you haven't even met, who will play crucial roles in your next chapter. It's infiltrating financial pathways, energetic channels, invisible networks, all redirecting themselves toward your life right now. You cannot see this happening with your physical eyes, but it's occurring at a level that's far more real than anything visible. Behind the scenes, in the spiritual realm where all creation begins, your new signal is being received and responded to. The universe is reorganizing itself around your transformed consciousness. Now, let me show you what happens when you fully surrender into this truth and allow it to carry you into your next level. If you can feel this new signal, write in the comments, "My heart broadcasts abundance." When you fully surrender into this truth and allow yourself to be carried by it, you begin to understand something that most people never grasp about money. Money is not attracted by effort. It's attracted by coherence. Think about what coherence means. It's when all parts of you are aligned, when there's no internal conflict, no hidden doubt, undermining your stated desires. It's clarity about what you want, certainty about who you are, and emotional harmony with the abundance you're claiming. When your entire being resonates coherently, when your thoughts, feelings, assumptions, and identity all point in the same direction, the universe cannot ignore your frequency. It's impossible. Wealth flows naturally because there's no resistance, no mixed signals, no internal contradiction blocking the channel. This is why people who seem to attract money effortlessly aren't necessarily the ones working the hardest or the smartest. They're the ones operating from coherence. Their inner world is aligned. Their consciousness is unified. And that unified field of awareness becomes magnetic to exactly what they're embodying. You can feel when someone has this coherence. There's a settledness about them, a calm confidence that doesn't need to prove itself. That's the vibration we've been building toward throughout this entire journey. And here's what's true about you right now, in this very moment. You have become a living atmosphere of abundance. Not someone hoping for it, not someone chasing it, not someone wondering if it's possible. You are the climate where prosperity naturally grows. Think about that image. A garden doesn't struggle to produce fruit. The gardener creates the right conditions: good soil, proper water, adequate sunlight, and growth happens naturally. You are that garden. You've been cultivating the inner EA conditions. You've been shifting your identity, aligning your consciousness, dwelling in the feeling of fulfillment. And now, in this state, you don't have to draw wealth toward you like you're pulling something heavy up a mountain. You simply allow it to bloom in your presence. Everything that's aligned with this new identity, everything that matches this frequency, is already finding you. Right now. It's moving through invisible channels, organizing itself behind the scenes, preparing to appear in your physical reality in ways that will seem miraculous but are simply the natural result of who you've become. Now let me reveal what this looks like as it begins to manifest in your everyday experience. If you recognize yourself as this atmosphere of abundance, write in the comments, "Prosperity blooms in my presence." As this begins to manifest in your everyday experience, you'll start noticing the small shifts first. A conversation that leads somewhere unexpected, an idea that strikes you out of nowhere, a person reaching out at exactly the right moment. These aren't coincidences. These are confirmations that you've stepped into a new reality, that the vibration has shifted, that the divine play is reorganizing itself around the consciousness you now embody. And if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, that itself is not random. You were meant to hear this message. Something in you recognized the truth in these words, and that recognition is the first step toward complete transformation. This journey we've been on together, understanding that you're living in God's divine play, that your imagination is creative power, that your identity shapes everything, this isn't just information. This is activation. You're different now than you were when you started watching. The seed has been planted. The shift has begun. If this message resonated with you, if you can feel something changing inside, I want you to do something right now. Hit that subscribe button, because this channel is dedicated to bringing you content that doesn't just inspire you for 5 minutes, but actually transforms how you see yourself and your reality. Every video we create is designed to take you deeper into these truths, to help you live from the consciousness of your highest self. And leave a comment down below. Just write, "This message was meant for me." When you declare that publicly, you're making an agreement with yourself and with the universe that you're ready to receive everything we've talked about today. Your words carry power, and that simple statement activates something. If this video gave you a new perspective, if it shifted something in your awareness, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps this message reach others who need to hear it, people who are searching for exactly what you just discovered. And here's the thing, we're just getting started. There's a video right here that goes even deeper into how to maintain this state of abundance even when circumstances seem to contradict it. Click and continue with me over there, because what you're about to learn will anchor everything we've covered today into your daily life. I'll see you in the next one.